My God, you sometimes open a website and you're like, this is bad. This is horrible. I can't believe they're doing
Less,
this.
less and less, and it's good. It's good. But you were mentioning earlier before, like immigrating to Canada. When you have to go on a website in Quebec to do your immigration papers, I'm not going to name any website, but this was awful. Like you had links, very important links at the bottom of the screen with like, it was hidden and it was not beautiful. So the UX and the UI were bad. But less and less, and that's a good news.
I mean, I don't think anyone's ever opened a government website and we're like, wow, that's a great website. No matter where you are in the
True,
world.
true, but they are accessible and now, and it's okay. Like you can find the information. You should find the information quite easily on government website, and there are actually some kind of some of them like UK government website is one of the, I wouldn't say Bible because I don't want to go into religion, but they are like best practices because they do a lot of work on accessibility and making sure that people can access the information like easily and yeah, and briefly. So that's
So talk to me about Puxo. So what exactly is it?
so the vision is building a system that will support the entire design process. So from the discovery phase to the developer end of. So how we can facilitate all this flow that is very messy because it's creative, but also a lot of information we gotta fetch, and we have so many stakeholders to talk to. So it's very messy, and I wanted to streamline that process. Um, and but I have to think small, right? Because I cannot do the entire pieces right away. So I had to prioritize what is the main pain point, for UX folks and product teams. And the biggest pain point is information, like the data about users. That's actually one of the main reasons we have so many meetings. If you take a step back and you realize what are our meetings about, it's mainly about users and data that we don't have that we have to fetch. So we have to talk to data engineers and ask them, hey, when do the user churn mainly? How, like why, and what happens before? So we have to get all this information, and at the same time we have to talk to so many people. It makes it very very blurry and very messy. So that's why we focused first on, yeah, the data, user data. So how we can centralize all the data we have gathered about UX users, and how we can provide guidance to the teams, to product teams and UX. That's the main point of focus. Exactly. And I don't want to build another dashboard because actually, if you think of dashboard, we today we think of dashboard as, the final point of a workflow that you have internally, meaning that it's either a report or a dashboard. But it's false. Like when you see that dashboard, you have to make a decision after that. You will act on it. I mean, supposedly.
Hopefully.
And hopefully you'll act on it. But what will be the decision? Like if you think of the dashboard that you built, who were the users, and I'm pretty sure you'll mention like different types. You might mention leadership and finance, um, like people who in finance will need those reports. But you'll probably think of people more on the operational layer that needs this information to make a decision about product, about strategy. Why not making it right away so that I don't have to look at the dashboard? And we're talking about one dashboard, but imagine that you have many, many tools. You have Datadog, you have HubSpot, you have Jira, you have Amplitude, you have, I don't know, many more. And you have dashboard for each of those tools. and then you have to cross this data, and it's insane.
Okay,
So
you know what? That's probably the first time anyone's ever said that to me. And I mean, here's why it makes sense. A dashboard is a means to an end, right? You get a dashboard so you can look at information and make a tactical or like some kind of decision for the company. But you're saying forget spending time building a dashboard and analyzing the dashboard. What if you get that precious information you're looking for directly? So skip these little steps in the middle. I mean, it sounds ideal. It sounds ideal, but it kind of feels like um, a cultural change. Generally company culture, I think they're always looking at dashboards and then together discussing, here's what we see, here's what we should do. So do you feel you can just completely skip it without having any pushback from companies?
no, you're right. I think in the end you'll have to make a dashboard, but if it's either integration with something that already exists, and you just push the information, the data uh, to um, your looker or whatever you have as a data gathering.
Visualization.
Yeah, yeah. Or oh yes, you build a dashboard or a report, some kind of report, but you don't make it the the main focus of your product. Like you don't make it the the first door, that you will push. It's like you have to think about who will digest this information. And when we usually build dashboards for, like I said, operational people and then leadership, but leadership will look at it like maybe once every quarter. So, you know, just focus about the people who need it like quite often, like every day. So that's my shift. And you're right. It requires a cultural change. It requires, communication around what's the best for your team.
Morgan, would this have helped you in your earlier years when you were in
Yes.
UI? So you see
Yes.
now we went full circle. That's why we were talking about before the recording starts. The whole domain expertise is necessary in order to build a company. That actually makes sense. So I'm glad the answer was yes.
No, it's actually something that I dreamed of. And it pissed me off how often we were in meetings about data. I just had like maybe half a day of my week for designing. And it's a shame, right? For a designer. So-
Did they half the week or half a day of the week?
oh, sorry, half the day of a week. Yeah, I had like only half the day because the rest of the days of the week were meant to, talk to stakeholders and get the data that I needed to design. So yeah,
So yeah, 10% of your time was dedicated to doing your actual job. So
yeah,
that must be annoying.
this and I'm gonna tell you about, I guess everyone had this in their life, but I had a burnout when I was in Barcelona because of many many things, but mostly because of the way we worked. I didn't have time to design, and I feel really pressured. It was quite difficult to understand my users because it was about HR and payroll, and it was very difficult to grasp like all the rules that they they have to follow. So therefore, it was a difficult field, but at the same time, it was hard to get the information that I needed, and at the same time, it was hard to see the impact I had on users. So mainly designers, what we will like, our passion will come from the fact that we are empath. We like to talk to users. We like to make their life better with interfaces, and but we won't have the chance to measure how great our design make their life. Like how how we improve the system for them, the experience. And when I was thinking about Puxo, one of the goal was to reduce this mental fatigue that designers have around, our design process. So I reached out also to some other folks, designers, and without telling me they had a burnout, they were telling me that they were feeling, um, stressed out or very depressed about their work because they don't have the impact. They don't see the impact. They want to have an impact. That's their core mission. And how can I help them? That was also one of my main focus around Puxo is yes, I want to put all the pieces together and make sure we streamline the design process, but I want to make sure that it has a positive impact on designers as well, so that they can feel again energized about their work and see the impact that they have on their product
Mm.
and users.
Again, it really sounds like you've been in the trenches. UX designers are designing the best experience, but no one's really thinking about them. I love your curiosity. I love your passion towards this. I mean, it's obviously very personal. I think the fact that you've been around, from Spain to France to Canada, I mean, this all brings you different perspectives and talking to so many different people, different companies. Well, again, it was super interesting talking to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Anton, for taking me. I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
All right.